Hello.
Good morning. Can we ask everyone to mute their mics? Just about to begin. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Trevor says his PowerPoint has frozen. Trevor, can you speak?
I can, Val. I'm just getting ready to go here. Val, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Trevor Schell, and I'd like to welcome you to the official RSI Day, which is February 29th, the only non-repetitive day. It is a truly, sorry, just give me 1 second. It is truly a bittersweet moment, as this day marks the 25th anniversary that was created to increase the awareness and prevention of musculoskeletal disorders. Yet 25 years later, here we are still doing the exact same thing. Yet on the other hand, 25 years ago, I was speaking to 20 people in the basement of a union hall here in Sudbury. And today, I'm speaking to an international audience. As a matter of fact, across our 4 sessions, we have over 1,839 unique registrants from over 53 countries. Looking back over the last 25 years, I find it that I go from moments of sadness to great joy over what we've been able to create. But on the other side, it's still disappointing because we're still doing the same thing 25 years later. I mean, just from our registration alone, we know that these issues are not just limited to Ontario or Canada or North America, but it's worldwide. And our first week of presentations included Catherine Fennick, who spoke about the fact that she created RSI Day due to her frustrations with both Ontario's medical and compensation systems and the fact that they are broken. Our second set of presenters spoke about the fact that injury rates are not decreasing. Instead, workers are not submitting WSIB claims and are instead working injured and using opioids to reduce the physical pain to allow them to continue working. Here in Ontario, our statistics are supplied by the Workplace Safety Insurance Board, but these stats are only based on the number of claims that they have accepted. What about the total number of claims that are filed that have been denied, often for ridiculous reasons? An example, a patient case I worked on. There's a heavy equipment operator working for 23 years, 45 to 60 hours per week, diagnosed with bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome. His claim was denied, stating, "Your regular job as a heavy equipment operator included manipulating joysticks and considered low risk for carpal tunnel syndrome, as there is no sustained forceful pressure, strong gripping, no awkward posture, hand position, or vibration." Now, just from doing a gathering of physical demands analysis, we were able to find that the person was indeed exposed to gripping, awkward postures, and also vibration exposure. Now, even the equipment design showed that joysticks with the change to more modern technology weren't just used to control the boom, but were now operating and opening and closing the claw, lowering a boom, using the brakes, steering, elevating the cab, operating the horn, all of which resulted in constant use of the hands while in operation. Even the joystick designs in their default positions resulted in the worker being placed in awkward postures without even using the equipment. So again, your regular job as a heavy equipment operator included operating joysticks, and it's considered low risk for carpal tunnel syndrome because there was no freaking gripping, no awkward postures, and no exposure to vibration. Our second week focused specifically on different musculoskeletal disorders in order to educate you about them. Our registrants all range from injured workers, advocates, joint health and safety members, researchers, ergonomists, to physicians, all people who need to know this information. Week 3 showed the benefit of ergonomic interventions using the cost-benefit analysis and also stressed the importance of recognizing the effects of mental health issues. Now here we are at week 4, which is focused on prevention of these disorders with the development and revisions of new programs that we're going to be releasing and showing you today. This month has brought to you both historical, controversial, educational, validation, and prevention issues. These were the goals of this year when we put together our schedule for it. But don't ever forget why we're here. Don't become complacent within a broken system. Continue to question, continue to seek, continue to expand. Never stop trying to do what is right. Now I'm going to step down off my soapbox to remind all of you that during today's session, the importance of answering all the survey questions that are going to appear in the chat. These are a metric that allows us to evaluate our sessions and our success. Also, remember, these sessions will be recorded and placed in OHCOW's YouTube channel. The previous 3-week sessions are already there. Next week, I will be sending off an email to all of our registrants with a survey to complete, not only as an overall evaluation of this year's event, but also asking for volunteers to assist with the beta testing for all the tools that we're going to be presenting today. It's a rare opportunity for you to give us feedback on how we can improve things. Now, the chat itself is being monitored, so please ask any questions to our presenters there. And before we start showcasing this year's new products that OHCOW has created, I'm first going to take a moment to switch over and introduce a very special guest speaker to open today's session, Dr. Joel Moody, the Chief Prevention Officer of Ontario. Dr. Moody, good morning.
Good morning, Trevor. Apologies for not having my buttons working very well, but I think we're there. So first and foremost, everyone, I want to say thank you for allowing me to come kind of on your last day, part of this RSI, Repetitive Stress Injury Awareness Day series. Our colleagues at OHCOW, the work you do is just amazing. And as I said, Trevor said, my name is Dr. Joel Moody. I'm the Chief Prevention Officer for the province of Ontario here in Canada, as well as the Assistant Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. And really wanted to just say, first and foremost, Trevor, you did a great job around the 25 years. Unfortunately, we're not as far as we want to be in the system, but we're going to continue to make strides and improvements through the work, through the construct, through the collaboration, through the communication that we have together. And it's really up, some of the aspects that are from you, starting in those days back in Sudbury at Cambridge College, which there was an older technology in use at the time. My staff told me it was EDOM. Hopefully that's the right one. But look at where we are now. And that's a testament to you. That's a testament to OHCOW. That's a testament to your colleagues and the other ergonomists that exist, because you're talking about real life issues that are there within the daily life of individuals in their operations at work. We know that we can improve. We know that we can prevent. And so a lot of the things that we're talking about, and so your presentations I had a chance to look at before today, they're all in reference to repetitive stress injury, which is, as we know, a major cause of lost time injury, both reported and unreported. We know it has dramatic impacts to quality of life of individuals. And so what can we do? And so I know some of the work that will be presented a little bit today is about a tool that's being developed. And I'm very happy to hear and learn more about its kickoff today. So once again, as one of the funding partners that we work with our colleagues at OHCOW, seeing the Ergo tool firsthand. It's been revised, it's been updated, newness that's coming. Happy to see that it's continually putting the worker at the center of what we do, putting the worker at the center of what we need to be considering when it comes to the prevention of occupational injury, illness, disease, and unfortunately even fatalities at times. So we know OHCOW, you've been very hard at work. You've also released the silica tool, which is, once again, when we talk about exposures, so also important as well. All of our health and safety partners are pushing and striving to be innovative, find those things that are really making differences in the lives of workers each and every day. Because to your point, we know that they exist. Last time I checked, the human body still functions the same way. The number of bones in our body hasn't changed. The mechanics haven't changed. But what has changed is the nature of work. What has changed is how the work and the individual interact with each other. And that's where, how do we find new innovative opportunities to address these age-old challenges that we have? And that's where my excitement is. So I want to say thank you very much for having me to kind of open your day. Look forward to being with you through some of the sessions. And OHCOW and Trevor, once again, great job as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Moody, and it's great to have you here with us. And on that note, I'm just going to take a moment to switch over and share my presentation, which is going to highlight a number of the tools that we've actually created or revised. So to begin, this presentation is going to be focusing on a review of the update of the cold stress calculator, our keyboard shortcut tutorial, the anthropometric calculator, and our Office Ergonomics calculator. So just a bit of a historical overview. The cold stress calculator was initially released at RSI Day in 2022. The keyboard shortcut tutorial at the same time. The anthropometric calculator a year previously in 2021. And the first version of the Office Ergonomics calculator was released way back in 2018 and was revised in May of 2022. So why were these products revised? Well, all of them were downloadable programs based either in Excel or PowerPoint. But issues began to arise due to older versions of Excel and PowerPoint that when updates occurred could often render the links and formulas unusable. Different Windows security features could also affect the links and formulas. 3 possible errors occurred when opening the programs. Example, a protected view, a security warning, manage workbook links, and finally, updating of links. All of these are possible options that show up in different Microsoft products that can often, again, render the program unusable. So people would often have to delete it and re-download it again, taking care not to actually do enable any of these features, which often would become a real pain. So the same issue also applied to PowerPoint. Plus, because the tutorials were based in PowerPoint, they were quite large and it took a great deal of time to download. Some of the clicking of the features varied for different users and again rendered the program unusable. So due to the programs being downloadable and OHCOW not requiring people to log into the website to access them, we didn't have the ability to track the information, which was lost to inform the public of any changes, updates, revisions to the program. Often results in users using an outdated version. and outdated versions can at times become unusable due to the updates, internal coding being disrupted, and fundamental changes to the updated program. Also, due to limited resources and funding, all we could do was add a disclaimer to our website warning people about potential errors. Now, in 2024, July, the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training, Skills and Development Prevention Division implemented a call for submissions for educational resources with a completion date of March 30th of this year. 4 projects were submitted under the submission for development into both not only a web-based program, but also mobile app format to eliminate any of these previously mentioned issues. The projects were approved on October 2024, which I began then immediately updating the graphics, videos, and very precise detailed instructions for when I procured both the web and app developers. And then the revisions began. Now, the first one that we did revise was the cold stress calculator. It was created as a simple means for what precautions people should be taken to protect workers from cold-related adverse health outcomes. By entering in the outdoor temperature, wind speed into it, we could estimate the adjusted temperature or wind chill temperature. The temperature and wind chill speed information could be obtained by accessing current weather information, and it was a way to estimate wind speed was also provided. The calculator then determined the adjusted temperature, risk to workers, potential health concerns, and provided recommendations for precautions. And immediately following its debut at the RSI Day, the City of Ottawa graciously offered to translate it to French for us. So now we're able to offer it both in English and French. So part of the revisions, originally it was Excel-based in English and French. The updates were to take this, make it web-based, and also create a mobile app.
How to use the cold stress calculator. Regardless if you are using the web-based or mobile app, both versions function in the same manner with a similar layout. Both versions start with an explanation of what is cold stress, also known as wind chill, and how to use the calculator. Once the calculator is opened, it is important to take note of its features. The first is the enter the current wind speed option, followed by the selection of the current outdoor temperature. To demonstrate, let us first select a wind speed of 10 km per hour and current temperature of -10. You will notice that the adjusted temperature has changed to -15 degrees Celsius. This is the wind chill effect. The calculator then displays additional features. The first is that a wind chill of -15 degrees Celsius places someone in a moderate risk of frostbite. The second is possible health concerns, and third, precautions that should be undertaken to minimize the effects of cold stress. For a second example, let us change the wind speed to 20 km per hour and the current temperature to -20 degrees Celsius. This changes the adjusted temperature to -30, which now places workers at a high risk of developing frostbite. If you are unable to access information regarding the current wind speed, you could still estimate the wind chill. For example, you could obtain the current temperature if you have an outdoor thermometer or temperature gauge in your vehicle. Then, by selecting the Estimating Wind Speed link, you are brought to a table that provides examples of physical cues you can use to be able to estimate wind speed. The difference between the two versions are the location of the references of the mobile app that are displayed on the About tab. The second is the mobile app uses a pop-up for the legend. The legend for the web-based version is located near the bottom of the page due to accommodating different browser versions. OHCOW hopes the cold stress calculator will assist in the prevention of cold stress-related health effects for you in your workplace. How to use
Now, the second tool we revised was our keyboard shortcut tutorial. This was power-based, again, available in both English and French, and had versions for Windows operator users and Apple operators. The updates included creating both, again, a web-based and mobile app feature with enhanced video and graphics.
How to use the keyboard shortcuts tutorial. Regardless if you are using the web-based or mobile app, both versions function in the same manner and start with an explanation of the tutorial. To start, you must select your computer operating system and preferred language. Both versions begin with an introductory message and a short description about keyboard shortcuts. To proceed, click the icon at the bottom. You must then determine which type of key functions you would like to learn about. Once selected, you can then click on any shortcut you wish, or select in order. The screen will then display a keyboard demonstrating the selected shortcut, which then minimizes to show its action.
To lock the computer, press the Windows and L keys.
When it is finished, you can either return to the previous shortcut category menu, return to the previous shortcut, return to the main menu, go to the next shortcut, or skip to the next shortcut category. In this example, the next shortcut was selected. To launch the Task Manager, press the Ctrl, Alt, and Delete keys. When the video is ended, you can return to the previous shortcut category, main menu, next category of shortcuts, or try a practice of the shortcut keys you have just learned about. The practice session is available on the last shortcut of every category.
The third tool was the anthropometric calculator. This was Excel-based. Now, the updates included, again, a web and mobile app version, reorganization of the tables, improved graphics, and the ability to have the data exported to the Office Ergonomics calculator.
How to use the anthropometric calculator. Regardless if you are using the web-based or mobile app, both versions function in the same manner with similar layout. Both versions start with an explanation of the calculator, what is anthropometrics, and how to use. To start using the web-based program, select your sex at birth to proceed. To start using the mobile app version, select your sex at birth and then the anthropometric calculator icon. Then for either version you will need to select whether you wish the results to be displayed in a table or graphically, followed by the units you wish the results to be in. Finally, select your height. To demonstrate, let's select male as the sex at birth. Once the anthropometric calculator has loaded, figure view was selected, with imperial units and a height of 70 inches. As you can see, the results are displayed in a graphic format. Then by selecting Table View, you can see that the same results are shown in tables. OHCOW hopes the anthropometric calculator will assist in the mitigation and prevention of work-related injuries for you and your workplace parties.
And the final tool was the Office Ergonomics calculator. This, of course, was web-based. The updates included both a web-based and mobile app, the ability to import data from the anthropometric calculator, improved audio, graphics, videos, the option to select both metric or imperial units. Previously, it was limited to just metric. The ability to select different keyboard selections. In the initial version, we assumed that everyone had a height-adjustable keyboard tray. The new option now is the ability to select whether you have a height-adjustable tray, non-height-adjustable tray, or your keyboard just sitting on the desk. We've added the option for dual monitors compared to just a single, and also a new variable with being monitor distance. And we also updated the landing page. So with the addition of the different keyboard surfaces and the single dual monitors, we went from one scenario to 6 possible new scenarios that could be investigated. We also, again, the ability to import your data for the anthropometric calculator. If someone was working home or had an issue with measurement error, they could import their measurements from the calculator, which is about 95% accurate. However, the physical equipment measurements must still be taken. So in a comparison just of version 2 compared to version 3, version 3 now offers multiple keyboard configurations, dual monitor use. Both versions accounted for bifocals, as well as sit-stand workstations. Imperial and metric are now being addressed. Both were linking to OHCOW's Office Ergonomics Reference Guide. They included the ideal setup results. The new version accounts for being able to work alone or not having anyone to be able to do measurements for you. Version 2 addressed 4 possible scenarios. Version 3 allows for 24. Version 3 also accounts for dynamic display, multiple formats, has increased the maximum number of comparable variables from 11 to 14, and the max number of ideal setup variables from 9 to 13.
How to use the Office Ergonomics Calculator. Regardless if you are using the web-based or mobile app, both versions start with an explanation of the calculator. To start the calculator on the mobile version, you will need to select Office Ergonomics Calculator icon. Once loaded, both versions have a series of questions that must be answered in order to proceed. You must first select your preferred units of measure. Then select whether you use a height-adjustable keyboard tray, non-height adjustable keyboard tray, or if there is no keyboard tray, and your keyboard is placed upon the desk surface. Then select whether you are using a single monitor or dual monitors. Finally, select whether you have someone to perform your physical measurements for you. If you do not, click No, then select your sex at birth, and your height based on the preferred units you selected. Using OHCOW's anthropometric calculator, an estimate of your physical dimensions will be used to enable you to properly use the calculator. Finally, select Go to Calculator. You will then receive a series of instructions, such as it is advised to use a metal tape measure when measuring. Additionally, it is stated that it is physically impossible for anyone to be able to perform accurate measurements of their physical characteristics themselves. This is why data from the anthropometric calculator can be used in lieu of having someone to perform the measurements for you. You also have the option to watch 2 short videos. The first, an overview of the Office Ergonomics Calculator. If you have not used the calculator before or performed ergonomic measurements, it is strongly advised to watch the How to Perform Office Ergonomics Measurements video for yourself, if alone, or for the person who will be performing the measurements for you. Once the measurements of yourself and your equipment has been completed and recorded on a sheet of paper, it is time to enter these values into the calculator, using the preferred units of measurement you had selected previously. The first series of measurements to be entered are with respect to your workstation equipment. Simply enter the information you have recorded into the required field. The next series of measurements to be entered into the calculator are with respect to your physical dimensions. As you can see in this example, the fields already have measurements in them. This is due to the fact that the Do you have someone to perform the measurements for you option had been selected previously. If someone was available to perform the measurements for you, please enter the values into the respective fields. The next section asks if you use a sit-stand or height-adjustable workstation. If you do not, simply continue to the next section. If you do use a height-adjustable workstation, click the checkbox and continue to enter these measurements into the required fields. Again, note that the anthropometric measurements were again imported from the anthropometric calculator. The next section asks if you are bifocals while working. If yes, click the text box. If no, simply proceed. Once you have verified that the values you have entered are correct, select Calculate. The first section to be displayed is a comparison of your current workstation layout to your ideal layout. For each variable you will be told if your layout is correct, green, too low, close or shallow, yellow, and too high, far or deep, red. You will also be told why your layout is not correct for you. The final section displays the ideal office layout for you, based on the information you have entered. You will notice that some of the values provided are not exact values, but are a range of values. These are based on recommendations from the Canadian Standards Association's guideline on office ergonomics. OHCOW hopes the Office Ergonomics calculator will assist in the mitigation and prevention of work-related injuries for you and your workplace parties.
So that was a quick overview of the 4 programs that were revised and updated that I brought forward. Now, the other most interesting thing I'm going to highlight, because it's going to lead into the next 2 presentations, is the creation of OHCOW. So what is OHCOW? Well, it's going to be a new online hub for all things related to OHCOW. This includes account creation, webinar registration, e-course registration and programs, personalized services, and of course, any special announcements. So this is basically an example of how the main landing page of the OHCOW site is actually going to look like. It's actually a portal that's separate from the OHCOW website, in that it's got very unique materials here. Now, of course, the first thing we're going to have to do is actually create an account. Now, anyone that registered for RSI Day on Eventbrite will notice that some of the questions down below are the same. But when you were registering, for example, multiple sessions this year, you always had to enter your information into the questions. By creating an account, you'll never have to actually answer these questions again. Once they're done and answered, it gets saved in your profile. Now, of course, why is that an advantage? Well, part of our portal is that you're going to be able to register for any of our upcoming webinars. For example, RSI Day next year. Well, once this information's in, all you're going to have to do is log in, click register, and all your demographic information is already there. This is going to be nice and easy and simple. Now, OHCOW isn't released yet. It will be ready later next week, and part of the update and emails will be letting you know that it's ready to go. So once you've created your account, you're going to return back to the main OHCOW. And what is it that we can see here? Well, the first is what are e-courses. For example, the Office Ergonomics, which will be presented later on today, as well as different tools and applications. So, example, the Job Assess tool that is also going to be presented to you today. And of course, other information such as webinars, which you'll register there, any live events we'll be having, as well as any other information that's going to be new and upcoming from OHCOW. You'll also have the ability to go to your bookings for webinars, go to any of your courses that you've taken, or call up your job assessments that you've done and saved on the OHCOW website. So that's just a quick overview of OHCOW. And again, this is going to be unlike anything we've ever had before. I'm really excited to see this coming because we're going to be off for you a number of different e-courses, one-stop shopping for everything related to OHCOW. And again, just the ease of registering for any of our webinars. And with that said, that's all I have for my presentation. Dwayne, are there any questions at all regarding the tools?
Yeah, there's a few here, Trevor.
Okay.
Are the calculators in French or or just the tutorials?
The cold stress, the tutorial are the only ones available in French.
Okay. This is pertaining to the Anthro calculator. What is the anthropometric database that was used for the anthropometric calculator?
Let me go right back to it because it's actually shown on the app. It's actually a combination
How
of
to use
4 different databases. Let me just fast forward in the video here a second because it'll show it. So it's a combination of both Ensures, Caesar, and also I got to move the stuff in my window here. It's in my way. The Dying survey or databases. So it's actually a mixture of all 4 because some of them had some measurement variables there, others didn't. So by combining the 4 of them into one, we're able to get the most comprehensive version of anthropometric data available.
Okay, good. Thank you, Trevor. One more here regarding the anthropometric calculator. The question is there a background document or an Excel version that has been updated as well, or just the app? The predecessor was somebody had written that they had used the Excel document in the.
There were no changes to the Excel document. Again, as I outlined it initially, the only reason for these changeovers were them being rendered inoperable by doing different link updates, etc. But yeah, I mean, ideally, there's no difference between the Excel version. But it is inherent with different issues that using the web-based or the mobile app version is just much more simpler. I also do need to add that the mobile app version currently is not available, but the 4 web-based apps are, and I will be sharing the links after my presentation in the chat. We do expect that the apps will be available before the end of next month, because that is the due date for them. So just keep your eyes out for that.
Okay, thanks, Trevor. Couple of quick ones here regarding the Office Ergo calculator. Question was, are the keyboard and mouse treated separately?
I'm sorry, what was
Are
that
the
again?
keyboard and mouse treated separately?
No. I mean, typically the keyboard and mouse are on the same surface. So that is one thing. I mean, well, actually, it depends because you can measure in specific heights for the keyboard and the mouse, and it will address that. But there is the assumption that they're either on a height adjustable keyboard tray together, non-height adjustable tray, or on the desk. So assume that they're on the same surface, but you can enter in different height values.
Okay, perfect. One little quick last one here until we need to move on. Are rest breaks included in the recommendations for avoiding overuse injuries?
No.
Basically, do the recommendations provided through the Office Ergo calculator take into account rest breaks?
No, it doesn't. That could be
Okay.
that could be something for version 4. Again, and this also, I said, we are going to be sending off a request for beta testing of these tools next week. And so one part of that will be what further updates, changes can we address? So that'd be a terrific opportunity to be able to highlight anything that could go into later versions of these tools.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you, Trevor. I just want to remind everybody to fill out the Slido questions if possible whenever you get a chance, and then I'm going to turn it quickly back over to Trevor, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm just going to stop sharing to allow Dwayne and Melissa to actually be able to start presenting on the Office Ergonomics e-course that they developed that again will be accessed through the My OHCOW portal. So Dwayne and Melissa, whenever you're ready.
I think we're just waiting for Melissa to share her screen there.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good
we
morning.
can see you.
Can we Can we see it? Everybody see it?
Yes, you're good, Dwayne.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon wherever it is you may be. Thank you, Trevor, for the introduction and for the presentation. And I just want to take this time to thank you, Trevor, for all the work that you do on RSI Day every year, and all the work that you have done this year as well as all the work that you have done on those products and those apps. A lot of the work that is done doesn't get seen by others. Everybody sees the end result, but I would just like to personally thank you for everything you've done with RSI Day and these apps and these tools that you were the primary person working on them. So I'm just going to go through a very brief introduction here on another one of the products that we are working on creating. It's called the Office Ergonomics e-course. Melissa and I have been working on creating it. I'm just going to do a little bit of introduction, and then Melissa is going to take you guys through a short demonstration on what we have so far and what it's going to look like. So Office Ergonomics, I use the word obviously, but it's maybe not obvious to everybody. It's much more important now than it ever was before. We rely much more on technology, obviously, than we have in the past. Computers are no longer limited to traditional office use. They're used in every facet of workplaces now, even those that operate manual equipment, those types of things. There's computers and everything. Almost all industries, workers, non-workers, depend on computers or some form of computers. The onset of the pandemic, 2020, has also further increased the use of computers in alternate settings such as workplaces, in vehicles, everywhere. Virtual meetings have essentially replaced in-person things. You're viewing a platform here that was created because of the requirement of virtual. That's why we have RSI Day now, and we have the 4 days in the month as opposed to the one big in-person event. So that's super important to remember. So what's the result? So what? Everybody knows what I just mentioned. So who cares? Well, it's resulted in a decrease in movement, and that decrease in movement has resulted in increased physical discomfort and injury. It's also decreased productivity, mental fatigue, and it's really increased the need of ergonomic intervention. People are recognizing much more now that ergonomic intervention is essential because of the fact that people sit longer, utilize technology much more and longer than they had in the past. So what are we doing about it? What is OHCOW trying to do regarding the need for more office ergonomic intervention? Well, in 2021, we updated our Office Ergonomic Handbook, we had called it. We renamed it. We called it the Office Ergonomic Reference Guide. It's in alignment with the CSA standard for office ergonomics. Trevor referenced it when he spoke about the Office Ergonomic Calculator as well. So that's the first step that OHCOW took in terms of addressing this. Is we updated this document that's available on our website in PDF version. You can download it. You can look at the website version. It addresses changes that have come about through COVID, things like remote workstations, changes just in time, where we need to be looking at multiple monitors now. We need to be looking at sit-stand workstations, the use of tablets and cell phones and those types of things. So it's modernized. It's 2021 now. We're 2024. It's getting on a few years old now, but it's modernized based on the versions that we had before. So what else can we do? So we have that. You can go on our website. You can download the PDF version. You can look at the web version. Well, we decided to create an Office Ergonomics e-course. So basically, the course is due to launch at the end of the March. The content of it aligns directly with our Office Ergonomics Reference Guide. It's self-directed. It allows you to go through the course. You can choose to do it whenever you like to do it. So it gives you flexible hours. You can do it in various locations. It allows self-paced learning. It's all online. We do have knowledge checks at the end of the modules. So we broke it down from the 9 chapters. We have 9 chapters in the Office Ergonomics Reference Guide. We broke it into 7 modules for those. And at the end of each module, it has knowledge checks so that you can see where it is you are, whether you understood the material, or the knowledge checks are fairly small, but it gives you some reference as to whether you should go back and maybe review that material again. And it also provides a certificate upon completion as well. So now, so who's it for? Sorry. It's for everybody. Everybody that potentially utilizes a computer, which is in this day and age, almost everybody. Office workers, joint health and safety committees, health and safety professionals, employers, managers, those types of things. It won't take a long time to complete. So it's something that we're trying to recommend, that all employers recommend that their employees utilize it, so that you can see where you're at, and people can help themselves with their office ergonomics. So this is just a breakdown of the modules that are included in it. Intro to ergo, chairs, work surfaces, your monitors. Module 5 is a little bit longer, spends a decent amount of time going through external equipment, your keyboard and keyboard trays and those types of things. And then technology, laptops and remote workstation setups. And then additional considerations in the final module that basically goes through things such as lighting and noise and those types of things. Okay, now as I mentioned, there will be a knowledge check at the end of each module. There's some true and false question, multiple choice. It's not meant to be a test. It's meant to be something so that you can make sure that you have a full understanding of the information, so that you can take that information and help yourself set up your workstation to suit you. So now Melissa's going to take over speaking, and she's going to take you through a demonstration on where we are with the course right now, and show you the different aspects of what you can be looking forward to with this course. Go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, thanks, Dwayne. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay,
good.
perfect. Good morning, everyone. So as Dwayne said, this is kind of it's a working model right now. We still have some edits to do. And as Trevor introduced to the My OHCOW platform that we're going to be using, this will be on there right now. This is just kind of a version that we have that we've been working through. So on the version, you'll have a table of contents that'll be on the side as well, but it allows you to bring down that table content so you can see the entire screen. And from the very beginning here, you would just start it by, pushing play, and it's going to give you, the welcome message. There's some notes to, take into account that the e-course on its own is not intended as training. Rather, we are sharing occupational health and safety knowledge in practical terms for individual consideration, workplace application, and injury and illness prevention. If you need at any time more technical expertise, it can be supplemented by further instruction and hands-on training specific to the job, work site, equipment, or by making an inquiry to OHCOW. We're always there to answer questions at ergo@ohcow.on.ca. So navigation, as you can see, as I'm navigating around it, it's just going to be done through these different types of arrows. You can bring up your table of contents anytime you want and go back to a section. Right now, there are a few things that as we're kind of testing it and moving it through, we've noticed that, once you kind of get to your knowledge check, if you're like, oh, whoops, I wanted to go back and check the previous page, it doesn't allow you to go back once you're in that knowledge check. But if you bring back up your table of contents, you can go backwards through it. So there's just different things that we're obviously looking to make improvements and we'll bring to you for beta testing as well. But it's easy enough to navigate, and you bring down your menu tab at any point in time and then go forwards and backwards. Once you get to this main screen, this is when you would be starting the course and, hitting the button, get to start. And obviously once this course is housed in that My OHCOW, it's going to look different. It's going to be all on one screen. You're not going to kind of have to scroll up or down like you see myself doing to view those arrows. The first part is going to bring you to these different modules. And so it's going to start with, again, like Dwayne mentioned, your introduction to ergonomics. And at the end of each module, there is going to be a knowledge check. It is going to be built in to allow you to, do one module, save, and maybe come back a different day and do it. You by no means need to do the entire Office e-course at one time. So again, here's an introduction to ergonomics. I can bring you through this one here. At the beginning of each of the modules, it's going to state what the purpose is of the module. For example, this one, it's going to introduce concepts of ergonomics, explain MSDs, describe how risk factors associated with Office can lead to MSDs. And by the end of it, you're going to be able to define ergonomics, explain musculoskeletal disorders, and identify those risk factors in an Office environment. And then you'll start going through it. It's going to go slide by slide, introducing you to different key concepts. And then, at the end of it, I'll bring you here to I'm not going to go through each thing. I'll bring you through a few different modules. You'll have Module 1, you'll have, your knowledge check here. So just to kind of give you an idea of how a knowledge check would look is you'll start it, and each one has about, I'd say, 4 to 10 questions, depending which module. Module 5 houses kind of all the external equipment. So like your keyboards, mice, document supports, footrest. So this is a larger section. So I think there's about 10 questions. Right now, we are trying to work through, for some reason, it's giving us the total questions here, which is 31 in the entire e-course. Do not fear, it's not 31 questions on the introduction to ergonomics. So you just answer each one. So ergonomics can be defined as fitting the worker to the job, fitting the job to the worker, can help prevent injuries. So then you answer these questions. Either way, well, we'll do a few that it gets wrong. If it gets wrong, it's going to show up here that it's incorrect. And in order to advance, you'll put yes. We are, again, by next week, what's hoping, if you get an answer wrong like that, it will allow you to go back and then select the right one. And like Dwayne said, this is not meant to be a test. It's just to, check your key concepts that you've learned through the module. So just to kind of go back, I guess once you're in the knowledge check here, you can't bring up your table of contents. That's something new for me. So the 3 main ergonomic risk factors associated with working in the office: static posture, vibration, force is D, awkward posture, static posture, repetition. So again, select one, submit. Oh, got it correct. So again, you'll notice the banner at the top will be a different color. And again, when we put this through beta testing, we're looking for different feedback when it comes to anything you see. As the number of risk factors increase, so does the chances of injury. Of course it does. Submit. Ergonomic interventions are generally designed to reduce musculoskeletal disorders that are a result of cumulative exposure and occur over time. So they're chronic, not acute. Yes, I agree. I just saw Kelly's come up on the screen. So we are actually working with our developer that with ergonomics, there's always a human factors component to anything. And you'll notice that, let me see if the next one I can do. When you get it wrong, when you get a question wrong, it's really difficult to see in the banner of the top. You kind of have red on red. And even when you get it right, the blue on red can seem bright. So we are working through changing the colors so that they can be seen, so that they're not so bright. Again, and that's all great information that when we send it out for beta testing, that we're hoping to get back from you as well. So we are looking at all of that. And again, so you can go through the different modules here. I'm going to bring through, look through chairs. So here is your chairs. Again, what the chair should do. Hopefully by the end of this module, this is what you're going to learn to do. You're going to be have learned. So each thing, it's going to go through chair, backrest, support. Now there is some components that, are a little bit more interactive. You might need to click an image to give you some more information, and that would all be explained in there. So each aspect of a chair is explained in this module, and looking at different heights as well. And then, each module is kind of laid out exactly the same. I think someone had just mentioned about psychosocial risk factors. We do have additional, just trying to find here, scrolling along the bottom, considerations, but most of them are physical in nature. Psychosocial is definitely something that is mentioned, but not a lot of information, just basically what was mentioned in the Office Ergonomic Reference Guide. So this would be the module 7 with additional considerations. Again, what the learning goals are here. Looking through a different type of lighting in this section, as well as, different colors and finishes, blinds and treatment. Yeah, and you just kind of work through each of these modules, and then at the end, again, there will be that quiz. And then, as Dwayne mentioned, at the very end, there is that certificate, and I do believe there is an example of it here. So it'll give you quiz results too. So your quiz results out of the 31 questions, I only, answered so many. So it will give you that kind of result just for some feedback. And then your certificate of completion will be here as well. And there'll be an option to be able to print this in a nicer form than you see it here. But that's just kind of a low level introduction to what our e-course is going to look like. And as Dwayne mentioned, we're hoping it will be done by the end of March. We're in the editing stage right now, and it's exciting for us to be able to offer this to you guys. And I think I saw some comments and questions come up about it, but anything that OHCOW produces is free to use. Everything is going to be housed on that My OHCOW again when it comes to anything with tools. And we'll take any questions. I think, Trevor, were you responsible for the questions?
Yes, it was, Melissa.
I thought so. Thank you.
There's a couple here. One is are headphone listening devices covered in the modules?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And the other one is, how much time do you need to complete the entire course? If you sat down from start to finish, how long would it take to do?
Depends on how well you can read.
So we actually haven't we haven't been able to sit down and to do the whole thing because we've just been editing it, right? So I feel like that's something, hopefully once we're done editing, we'll take the time to do to go through it. But I think the hopes are like, you know, each section, I don't know. I guess it depends too how much time you need to go through it, because it's not like each screen is timed, right? You can, if you, that concept, even when you maybe go to the knowledge check, if you were like, oh man, maybe I want to review that some more, you could go back and review it again. I think it really depends on the individual.
Okay. Another question was, what is the passing grade for the quizzes to be able to get the certificate?
So what our hopes are with the knowledge check is that you won't be able to move to the next module until you've gotten them all correct. So everybody's going to get perfect by the end of it is what our hopes are. That's what we kind of, our feedback was, because we don't want you to answer the question incorrectly and then not know what the correct answer was. We want you to get the correct answer, because then, you know, you might, again, go back and might need to refresh yourself on that concept if you didn't get it the first time. So really, by the end, everyone should get all of the questions correct.
And we'll keep telling you which ones you got wrong and send you back to that section.
Yeah, so like in the moment there, you know, when I had gotten the one wrong and it said, but it still allowed me to move forward, it's not going to allow you to move forward until that question is correct.
Okay.
Is the hopes.
I noticed there is a comment here about the option to export to a vendor to print and laminate. I mean, it does come out as a PDF file then that people can take and print and laminate and frame if they want. Now, how many modules is there on the e-course?
There's 7 modules altogether.
Okay.
And with some of the, sorry, Trevor, to interrupt.
No.
I just looked at some of the questions. Some of the questions regarding content of what's going to be on the course. If you go to our website, OHCOW's website, and look at our Office Ergonomics Reference Guide, basically the content that's located within the Office Ergonomics Reference Guide is the same content that you're going to find in the e-learning course.
Okay. Another question here, which is one that's a really strong point for me, is the options like exercise balls or kneeling chairs addressed in the modules?
Yes, they're all addressed. Again, like Dwayne said, literally everything that we talked about in the Office Ergonomic Reference Guide, which those are listed there as well, is spoke about in this this course as well. So we list when it comes to any type of, like, you know, alternate keyboards, mice, sitting devices, we usually talk in terms of limitations and merits to them.
Excellent. Okay. And the other thing we really want to mention is people, again, to please complete the Slido survey that just popped up. And there was a lot of feedback regarding font size, color, etc. Again, a great opportunity for you to share your comments with signing up when we send out the email next week to be part of the actual beta testing. We can actually help us improve these tools before they go completely to market. And again, people to do the e-course will need to register with the My OHCOW site when it's made next week as well. And because once they complete that module, it's going to be saved within their My OHCOW. So if they do need to call up their certificate or review that they've completed it, the records are all going to be logged and kept there that they can be able to access their information. So Melissa and Melissa, thank you so much for showcasing the e-course. And we're now going to switch over to Andrew Flanagan, who's going to present on the Job Assess program.
Hey, Trevor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Just working on sharing my screen here. All right, do you see that, Trevor?
We see it perfectly, my friend. You're good to go.
All right, great. So thanks for the introduction, Trevor. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming today. I'm Andrew Flanagan, and I'm just going to be giving an introduction to our new Job Assess, job demands analysis tool. This tool was created by Dr. Daryl Stevenson, who is an ergonomist in the Hamilton Clinic here at OHCOW, David Manovich, who's the Toronto Clinic ergonomist, and myself. Before we dive into the demo, I just wanted to give a little bit of background on so what is a job demands analysis? So a JDA it aims to systematically quantify and evaluate physical, cognitive, and psychosocial demands of a job. So a lot of you are probably familiar with physical demands descriptions or analysis, cognitive demands analysis. So really this document takes these things and combines them all together. And we're becoming more and more aware of how important the cognitive and psychosocial components are of work and how they tie into the risk for musculoskeletal disorders. So this really kind of emphasizes the importance of capturing all of these demands to really paint the full picture of the demands of a job. So why would we want to conduct the job demands analysis? If the JDA is done proactively, it can inform prevention efforts. So that's really what we're pushing towards. So you'll see when we go through the demo that it has the ability to, or it lets the user identify high-risk tasks. So when this document is completed ahead of time and you have the summary page at the end, you can go back and look at all of the high-risk tasks of the job that you're capturing, and you can address those concerns before they lead to injury for workers. It could also be used to educate others on the demands of the job. So like in a job description, for example, it can assist with worker accommodations in the return to work process. And it could also be used for making decisions in claims management. Just bringing you back to last year, some of you may have been present for the presentation when we had created our job demands analysis spreadsheet in its beta mode. And I just wanted to point out that this is still available on our OHCOW website. So if you've been using that job demands analysis in the spreadsheet and you're enjoying it, that's great. It's still available. Or, you know, if you, once we do release this job demands analysis tool, Job Assess, and you want to go back and look at the spreadsheet just to kind of learn kind of the roots of Job Assess, or, you know, if you're someone who really enjoys working from spreadsheets, we just wanted to make you aware that that is certainly still available. You can follow this link that I've posted, or if you just Google OHCOW JDA, it'll probably be one of the top things that pop up, and you can download the spreadsheet from there. So getting into Job Assess, on our website, this is what the logo will look like. And when you click View the Tool, it will prompt you to either register an account or to log in to an existing account. And this will be available once we launch My OHCOW in coming weeks, as the previous presenters have discussed. We also have the ability to continue without an account. So if you register and create an account, it gives you the ability to save your completed job demands analysis on the OHCOW platform. So then you can log back in and you can view those assessments down the road. Of course, you can also download a PDF to save on your computer or, you know, for your organization. And if you don't want to have to log in to have your information saved, you can continue without an account, and that still gives you the option to download the PDF to save at the end of the assessment. So that brings us to the live walkthrough portion, and just bear with me one moment as I flip screens. All right, so this is on the OHCOW website. What you'll see once you're logged into my OHCOW, you'll see that you have the option to start a new assessment or view an existing assessment. For now, we'll go through start a new assessment. And I'm just going to walk you through each of these pages. So I'll be the assessor today, and I've kind of pre-populated this information just for the sake of time. So we can see we have the position we're assessing is lawn maintenance worker. In this form, you can enter all of the contact information about the job, the work hours, overtime policy, any training, the job description, all the things that you would typically see in a physical demands analysis. We get to measurements, and you do have the option to select whether you would like to enter in metric or imperial. And you do have the option to flip-flop at a later date. But some of the rounding as of now, the numbers will be rounded. So the numbers will not be exactly precise. Some rounding does occur. So it's best to complete the assessments in the unit of measurement that you plan to continue to use. You also have the option to choose whether you would like to capture all demands. So if you'd like to do a full cognitive demands analysis, you can select all demands. If you would only like to capture the physical demands or only the psychosocial factors, for example, you can select just that box, and it will only prompt you to those screens that would capture the psychosocial factors. So for today, we're going to go through and we're going to do all demands. So getting into the job tasks, for those of you who are familiar with the OHCOW PDD handbook, this follows a similar format. So it has job tasks and then task elements within each of those. So if we start with yard maintenance, and maybe we're doing that for, let's say 8 hours or 6 hours a day, every day. So that is the general task. The elements of that task would be could be grass cutting. You know, maybe we're cutting the grass for 5 hours every day, and we have the ability here to add additional task elements. So then we could say maybe for that final hour we are trimming using a weed whipper or whatever you call it to trim. And you can continue to add task elements or additional job tasks as required. So an example of an additional job task, maybe for a yard maintenance company, could be if we're trimming hedges. You know, it's not really related to cutting the grass, as we mentioned above, but it's still a component of lawn maintenance company. So for trimming hedges, the task element number one could be using clippers to clip the hedges, and then task element number two could be, you know, cleaning up the waste or debris once you finish clipping. And we do have the options to upload photos of the task or tools. So if you wanted to capture a photo of a worker performing this task or any of its equipment or anything like that, that could be done here. That leads us into administrative considerations. So it's going to ask, are the necessary people available? Just select yes for the purpose of this. It leads us into the workload. So what is the most physically challenging part of the job? In a lawn maintenance company, maybe prolonged walking while pushing the lawnmower is what the worker reports as the most physically demanding component. And you'll notice that there are these flags here. So as we're going through and completing this assessment, if we identify a task that is considered to be high risk, or maybe the worker notes that, you know, this is a part of my job that really kind of tires me out throughout the day, or that I find physically challenging to do, then we can check off that flag. And in the summary page at the end, all of these checked flags are going to appear. So then we can go back and address those concerns. It asks, when's the highest workload? When is the lowest workload? A number of administrative considerations. And sorry, I should have mentioned along the bottom here, you can see all of these colored tabs. These give you a sense of where you're at in the job demands analysis, and just kind of let you know how much more you have to complete. Personal protective equipment. Is PPE required for this job? Likely it is for a lawn maintenance company. So we'll say we need safety shoes. Maybe we need hearing, sorry, not a respirator. Hearing protection, etc. So you can list out any PPE that's required. You can upload photos again as desired. Is a tool belt worn? No. So we can enter in any tools, equipment, materials that are required for the job. So, maybe we have electric clippers, and we can choose that this is a power tool. In this case, we'll say it's cordless, and we can weigh the equipment. Maybe it weighs 3 kilograms. Again, always the option to upload photos as desired. For lawn maintenance company, maybe they have a push mower and a riding mower. We can enter in the specific equipment, the URL to it if we want to. So you can enter in really as much detail as you like here to really identify the equipment that the worker is using. And this can be really beneficial for, like if a lot of companies will publish the weights of their equipment, or even information about vibration on different types of equipment. So it's just can be really helpful information to have. That leads us into the strength demands. We'll start with, it's going to bring us through low level lifting, waist level lifting, above shoulder lifting, and then carrying, pushing, pulling. So if we go to low level lifting, maybe for a lawn care company, we're having to lift like bags of mulch or sand from the ground. So we would capture whatever the force load average is, let's just say 8 kilograms for simplicity. And then the maximum load, maybe that's 20 kilograms. And we identify this as something that the worker says, is a physically challenging task, or maybe we're familiar with some sort of ergo guideline that we can refer to and identify that as a high-risk task. So we can select the frequency. So if they're doing this rarely, maybe they don't have to do mulch every day, so they're only doing this, on certain days of the week or at a certain time. Doesn't really fall into the cycle, but if you had a cyclical job, you could capture that here. The duration of these stacking these bags would probably be intermittent, sustainably stacking bags or carrying bags of mulch, sorry. You can enter in like the height of the lift. So, if you're picking up mulch bags and putting them down in the back of the bed of a truck, you can enter the height of that here. And another thing that we've included here that was, you may remember from the spreadsheet, is the Borg scale. So this can be, it kind of adds a qualitative component to this. You can speak with the worker who you're working with as you're completing this, and you can ask them kind of what the perceived level of exertion is while they're completing this task. So maybe they think that carrying around these bags of mulch or sand or whatever it is a moderate exertion throughout their day. It just adds kind of a subjective component along with the objective measures above. It also has the area to add comments or notes. So if you wanted to say, worker is required to carry, let's say, mulch on Tuesdays, and that can be saved for later. We also have carrying, so you could capture the demands. Let's say the worker has to carry those bags of mulch a sustained distance. Pinching or gripping, so it's something that comes to mind. Maybe while they're using the weed whipper to trim, they have to use their right hand to pull the trigger for a long time to operate the equipment. And the worker identifies this as a high-risk task, so we'll just say 1 kilogram for simplicity's sake. If they're doing this often, you capture the Borg scale rating. So if the worker's saying, for 2 hours every day, I have to operate the weed whipper, and it's really causing strain on my wrist, I find my hand is really sore at the end of each day. Maybe they think it's a 7 or an 8. You could add your notes. And moving on to the body posture frequencies. Excuse me. So within the body posture frequencies, we have walking, standing, sitting, driving, climbing, etc. And we capture these for each, so for mobility along with each of the body segments, as you can see below. So I'm not going to go through all of these just for the sake of time during this presentation, but for a lawn maintenance company, for mobility and walking on the train, we may say mixed. And then we could say mixed is grass, concrete, asphalt. Okay, and we could select that they're constantly walking, lawn maintenance, probably on their feet all day. And we could say that it is sustained. Okay, so looking through the different body segments, I guess, just for example, we could go, again, mixed, make the same comment. We could say you're on your feet all day, and carry on from there. So you can go through each of these individually once it's live, but yeah, for the sake of time, we'll continue along. Getting into sensory demands. So this includes hearing, speech, sound discrimination, and vision. So for hearing, maybe we need to interact with clients, coworkers frequently throughout the day and intermittently. You can make any comments that you need to again. It looks similar to the previous scripts. So maybe for speech, again, speaking with coworkers, sound discrimination, maybe we need to hear over our equipment throughout the day. And then vision, cutting straight lines in the lawn is probably fairly important. Constantly, sustained. Then we also have color. So kind of wraps up sensory demands. Moving into the cognitive demands. So when you get to cognitive demands, we'll select from our primary job tasks. So not all of the primary job tasks may apply to cognitive demands. So we'll select both for this in this case. And you can move through, so there's quite a few of them here. Again, I'm not going to go through just all of them just for the sake of time, but so attention. So of course, when we're cutting grass or trimming, we'll need to be paying attention. Probably sustained. I'd say it's probably constant that we need to be paying attention while we're operating equipment. All right, so you could even add notes like while operating equipment. Goes through each of these different categories to capture all of the different cognitive demands. So again, I'm going to move along here, but safety while cutting grass, trimming, probably fairly important while using the equipment to make sure that you are operating safely. And that leads us into the final category, psychosocial factors. So there's a number of different categories that you can see here. Is self-supervision required? We could say moderate, maybe sometimes work alone. Supervision of others required? Say no. Deadline and pressures. Say low requirement, you got to get the lawn taken care of and cut within a certain time. Cooperation, we'll say low requirement to work with others that are using equipment. Emotional, we'll say low again. Violence, probably not. Of course, you're dealing with customers and maybe neighbors that don't like the sound of your lawnmower or something like that, but probably a low risk for violence. Responsibility, accountability. Of course, you're responsible for cutting straight lines in the grass and for doing your job appropriately. And also, we'll say low stress for this, just for the sake of completing the form. And we'll say, we'll just check this one off just so we can bring it up and see later an example of the flags that show up on the final summary. So then we would click Save and Continue. And it brings us to our final page here. Congratulations, you've completed the Job Demands Analysis app. And we can view our results. It's going to bring up a complete form that goes through each of the categories that we just completed. So you can see all of the information we entered, job description. We can see our high summary demands that we flagged. So again, this is a great example of how these can be used proactively, right? So if we've gone through and completed a job demands analysis and we've flagged a number of different tasks that we can see here, this would be tasks that we would want to go back and address, or we want to take a second look at, because at one point they were identified as being higher risk or something that needed to be reviewed. Our job tasks, our administrative considerations, our PPE, our tools and equipment, everything that we've completed is listed out. Now, of course, I didn't go through every category, so it's not all there will be a lot more listed here when it is totally filled out, but for the time being, this is what we have. So all of the demands that you've captured will be visible here. At the bottom here, you have the option to save the report as a PDF. So it will be saved if you created an account. As I said earlier, it will be saved on the site. But if not, then you do have the option just to print as a PDF and save just for yourself. Okay. And then I wanted to point out as well, once we've completed the assessment, we can go back and we can view our existing assessments. So once you're logged into my OHCOW, you can go back and you can see all of the different companies or JDAs that have been completed. So, and you can go back and print them off or save the results, view the results again. All right, so I'm going to just flip back to my slideshow presentation now. And that, excuse me, that sums up the presentation. So I will turn it over to Trevor for any questions that were, excuse me, turn it over to Trevor for any questions that were posted.
Hey,
Actually,
Andrew.
Dwayne's going to handle this.
Oh, sorry, Dwayne.
Yeah. One quick thing, the Slido just popped up. Can everybody please complete the Slido if possible? Okay, there's several questions here for you, Andrew. Do you suggest to account for seasonal variations?
So in the, sorry, I'm losing my voice here. In the job description, let me just flip back here. Writing in the job description where you enter in the, if I can get to it. Where you enter in the details of the job, you can make a note of that. I think that would be the best way to do it. So if you wanted to, if it was a seasonal job where someone, like an example I've seen in the past is where someone works in an arena during the winter, and then in the summer when the ice is taken out, maybe they work for Public Works and they're out, doing Public Works tasks. I would recommend capturing that as two different job demands analyses. So you could have one for, you could title it as seasonal work arena, and then you could title it for seasonal work, Parks and Rec. And that could just be one example. Maybe that person has a different example in mind, but I think that's one way that you could address it. The other way would just be to, in the work hours or shift schedule, you could enter in a note there, or in the job overview, you could say, this position is seasonal from certain time to certain time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any acceptable format for uploading the photos? Like, does it have to be a certain one, like JPEG or whatever? And then is there a limit on the size for the uploaded photos?
We asked our development team the same question. And I think, I forget how big they said exactly could be uploaded, but they said it was huge. So I know quite a large file can be added to it. I can't recall the number off the top of my head, but it's quite a large photo can be uploaded. And in terms of format, I'm not actually sure. I would assume, like, for when I uploaded for practice earlier, I think it was JPEG. But yeah, like, that's something that if you want to email me, I could reach out to our developers and let you know. But I think many formats will be acceptable.
Okay, thanks. Somebody asked why taste was removed from, apparently it was in the Excel version, why it was removed for this.
Sorry, was it taste?
Taste, yeah.
Well, that's a good question. So this is not, it's not totally live yet. So we are going through and making our final revision. So as Trevor mentioned earlier, we will be looking for people who are interested in testing this out and offering their feedback. So I think it's a great observation. Yeah, it perhaps should be added back in, but it's just something, I guess, that we missed.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Andrew. In terms of these being sent out for people to do the beta testing, so they can provide feedback, so we can get all that type of feedback and hopefully get it implemented in these products before they're finalized. A couple more questions here. Who determines the pace of work?
So I think that could be, well, you can look at that question, I guess, from a couple different angles. Like, if you're working on an assembly line, then the pace of work is obviously decided by the employer. But if you were using the example that I did with the lawn care company, I think you could determine pace of work by speaking with the worker that you're working with when you complete the assessment, would probably be the best way to capture that. So you could say, do you have a lot of pressure to cut? Like, do you have enough time for the tasks that you have to complete? Do you feel rushed? But in terms of pace of work, I think, like, for a lawn care company, it's kind of decided by the amount of work that needs to be done and by the rate the worker feels they need to do it.
Okay, thank you. So is there an opportunity for multiple people from the same organization to collaborate and view reports if it's saved to the OHCOW?
So I think the easiest way to do that, so, like, let's say you have a joint health and safety committee and they want to get together and do a bunch of these, they want to use Job Assess to do a bunch of, assessments. The best way to do it would just to have a shared login for the business. So there's no way to connect two accounts. So, like, let's say two joint health and safety committee members each made their own account. There's no way to transfer currently the assessments between those two accounts. But the best way to do it would be, for the example I just used, lawn care company, you could go in, create the account as that lawn care company, and just give the password or access to whoever you wish to share it with.
Okay, thanks. Just one more here, and then we'll move on. Explain what is meant by the information processing aspect of cognitive demands.
Information processing would be the ability, like the requirement to like read something and interpret it. So if you're like, or kind of absorb any information. So if you're having to, what's an example? Let's say you're a carpenter, for example, and you're cutting a roof, like you're cutting sheathing for a roof, and someone is down on the ground measuring, and they're yelling up numbers to you. You have to hear those numbers and process them, and then make those cuts accurately. So that would be an example of information processing.
Okay, thanks. I'm just going to add a couple quick things, and then I'll turn it over to Trevor. I believe Val answered it in the chat, but just to reiterate again, all of our products and all of our tools are free of charge. So that question seems to keep coming up as to how much these tools cost. They're free. They cost nothing to utilize. And I just want to remind people again, one more thing. Please fill out the Slido if you haven't done so thus far. And I'm going to turn it back over to Trevor. Thank you, Andrew, for a very good presentation. And Trevor, take it away.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, all my fellow OHCOW ergonomists. We've worked so hard since November trying to get these ready for delivery. Our goal had been, of course, everyone to have everything ready for today, but there's always hiccups. But again, these will be available next week. I will be sending, again, an email out to all our participants, giving the opportunity to not only evaluate the whole month, but also the opportunity to actually be part of our different, for lack of a better word, focus groups for beta testing of these tools. You'll be able to click which one you wish to help out with, and then we'll hook you up with the proper team that are working on these programs just to find any bugs, etc., to improve the quality of these products when they come to market. Again, my OHCOW will also be available next week so people can register. And then again, it's one-stop shopping for the benefit of what you're going to be able to do on the OHCOW websites. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for being part of this year's 25th anniversary, all the presenters we've had over the month. And again, this has been the most successful RSI day in 25 years. Almost 1,850 people by the time registration closed today. 53 countries. It's just been phenomenal. So with that being said, thank you, and we'll see you all next year.
Trevor, I need to take the opportunity to thank you, as Dwayne did at the beginning, because your leadership for all these years and your tremendous effort and organizational skills in communicating with people, in developing the tools, and in curating the sessions are just incredibly impressive and incredible value. This is OHCOW's biggest event every year, and it continues to grow. And we also thank everyone attending, because we couldn't do it without you. And we look forward to your insights and comments on our products as we share them with you next week, because that just helps us be better, so that we can help the workers and workplaces of Ontario, of Canada, and
the world.
across the world. And I, of course, have to thank the other 5 ergonomists who've all been working really hard on the tools that we presented today, which includes Dwayne and Melissa, and includes Andrew, Daryl, and David. And of course, Tony has been here all month helping us with the tech support, which we could not deliver this program and our Slido quizzes without him. So thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing same time, same channel, but new topics. And also, we will be polling you about topics of interest for next year. So thanks again, Trevor. Thanks again, Ergo team. Thanks, Tony. And thanks all of you attending and supporting our work.
Yes,
of
thank you
a-
very much, Tony.
Yep.
Okay, so with that being said, everyone take care and we'll see you next year.
Okay, bye, everybody.